in my life, or living here, have we ever been represented by a Democrat in CD2. Okay, and the other, so that leads me to the question about coattails. That leads me to the question about support and the perception of support that the Hillary campaign would give to those that might consider running for office, whether it be assembly. I don't think we have a Senate race as far as the state Senate, but our assembly district, which we very rarely have anybody running for, and of course CD2. Because whether we like to admit it or not, Obama did not have coattails, nor did they even give the perception of wanting to have coattails, which really diminishes the the excitement or the viability of anybody running for that spot. Are we going to be able to, is there going to be an injection of that kind of enthusiasm and excitement? I mean, I don't know how else to ask it, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
I do, and I'm really glad you asked that question. So that goes into that second priority, right, of building a long-term infrastructure. I think, and I will say this, I mean, I worked on the Obama campaign in 2011, 2012 here in Nevada, and I look back, and as we're building this program, I cannot help but think through what are the things that we did really well, and I'm proud of so much, and think through the areas where we certainly had room for improvement. And I think that that's one of the areas, right? I think one of the big challenges that I had on that campaign personally, and I speak for myself, is just the rigidity, right? And ensuring that we are meeting Democrats, we're meeting people where they're at, and we're building programs that are county-specific, congressional district-specific, precinct-specific, even though, right, you know, we just came from a staff training earlier. We're training our fellows and our new staffers on the ground there, and what I said to them was, we are really looking at how do we bring as many people into this organization? How do we bring as many people into this process, right? And there will be people who say, I can only contribute 30 minutes a week, and I want to spend it making posters. Okay? Yeah. Are we going to try to talk them into calling people? No. Yes. Well, yes. Are we going to try to ask them to caucus? Yes. Are we going to try to ask them to knock on doors? Yes. But if all those things don't work and they want to make signs, here are the markers, right? And we're going to really work with them to ensure that we're meeting people where they're at. I think to your second point is, we are really focused on the caucus, okay? We expect that it's going to be competitive. And we expect that things are going to tighten up. I think it's the sheer nature of the race. And again, we're not going to take anything for granted, right? And if we have a strong caucus, there is no greater gift after we hopefully win the primary than to be really organized going into the general election. That being said, I'll tell you, we are all so committed to working with the party, to working locally with anyone that will work with us that shares the same values of fighting for middle class and other issues that we all care about, that we're going to do anything we can, and Hillary says this, is to win our campaign from the ground up, not the other way around.
To give you a perfect example of Douglas County, most people don't know that the Nevada portion of Lake Tahoe is in Douglas County and in Washoe County. We don't have a commissioner anymore that has to live at Lake Tahoe. They wanted to get rid of the school board trustee that has to live in Lake Tahoe to represent the school. So there you have a thumbprint of a county that brings in a tremendous amount of revenue and has no representation whatsoever. And so those people, especially being environmentalists, those are groups of people that you can find in every county, in every rural county, that are so ripe for the picking. They are low-hanging fruit. And hopefully, Hillary people will, go after them.
Well, I think one of the things that I've certainly learned over the last few cycles, if you look at President Obama, we have a Democrat in the White House. However, the challenges at the state legislative level, the challenges in Congress, it is not enough to just have a Democrat in the White House, right? We've got to work on every level, and we've got to ensure that we're thinking things through. If, for example, one of the challenges that we've heard of often, well, veterans or water, as an example, right? That's something that we've all got to work on together. That is not something that the President of the United States can say, like, let's go, yeah, there's a water problem. Well, we've got to work commission level, we've got to work with local municipalities, we've got to work with state legislators, we've got to work with Congress. So I think that, to me, and hopefully to many others, that has become a lot more apparent in the last few years of how vital and critical it is that we're all working together to gain that representation. So we're going to, we're really, I cannot stress enough how open we are to working with people, to getting feedback, to saying, this is working or this isn't working, or, I really love this policy, but one thing I didn't hear was X. So at the very minimum, we can have that conversation and say, I hear what you're saying, or this is where she stands, or you know what, we hadn't thought of that, and we'll make sure that we connect you with the right policy person so that you can share that. I think one example of that is, if you remember the Veterans Roundtable, we talked about veterans in regards to payday lending. That actually had come up when Robbie and Marlon were here with Kate Marshall. And Kate Marshall was talking about the economy, and she said, what's really tough about the economy is payday lending are really, really, I think, misleading veterans, and they're falling victim to those processes. And that's where it started. I mean, that's the thing of how many different influences there have been in Nevada. I think the same on the Roundtable on immigration reform. Those young Nevadans were really able to shape that conversation early on. And that is something that we continue to draw from and continue to build toward. That's a great question, though. Yes?
One of the things that we've looked at in the time that I've been involved here is we've seen campaigns in the past, and I get it, I really get it, where they look at the numbers. And we look at Clark County, they've got the numbers. Washoe County has numbers. And we see a lot of focus on Clark and Washoe. But what I've also seen is a lot of people out in the rurals who feel like, well, we're not getting addressed, we're not getting listened to, and I see them, moving a little bit further away. So I'm hoping the campaign is not going to just be focused on the north, the big north, and the big south numbers, because we saw that, and I know a lot of other places in the country saw it, where okay, we got a Democrat in the White House, great, cool. But we got clobbered all the way across the legislature, and we dealt with that this last year. And so many people outside of those big number areas are wondering, where it's going, and they're going away. And we're doing everything we can to bring them back in and generate the interest so that we can plug in the infrastructure below whoever's getting to be elected president. Want to keep that in mind. We've got a big event that we're planning that I know I've mentioned to you.
Yes.
We're going to try to do something that has not been previously done to really stir up some spark.
But we've been hearing a lot of that, Kimmy. We've stopped in just about every county on the way over here, and we're heading back to Reno tonight and starting over in the morning, heading south for the next 2 days through western Nevada. And Lorraine, that same woman, said to me after, she said, we're just really grateful you're here. We don't see that a lot. People just take us for granted or don't care because we're not a big part of the vote share. And we've really tried to maintain that value of building a campaign that's Nevada specific, and that's all Nevadans. I've said to Han and Michelle and everyone when we were doing interviews is, this job is surely focused on Hillary for Nevada, but it's also all-encompassing of how do we build those resources and how do we ensure that we're connecting people from across the state or Democrats, etc. We were in Fallon yesterday, and they said, I would really love to learn more about social media. So Han is going to be scheduling a meeting with Larry to talk through the different trainings, the same for Van, same for different things. And the good news about what you're saying, the silver lining there, is actually in the caucus, the rurals do matter. They do matter. For example, Elko has a great delegate share, and some of these, I think, counties are a little bit heavier than that. I think if you look at the 2008 results, for those of you that might have been a little bit more engaged then, is where President Obama ended up getting majority of the delegates, or getting our delegate advantage over Secretary Clinton, was in the northern rurals. So for us, it's incredibly important that we start solidifying support in every single one of these areas where there's Democrats. We're not in a position to cede anything, right? Gotta
I'd
get a
love
little
to
more.
help in the rules, yeah.
Well, let's talk about it. I think the other thing.
Yeah, because, you know, I don't, I'm sure you guys know, we use, every school is available to us, for free, for no charge. And, that's in every county, every state, it's in NRS.
And you know what else we heard? So in terms of like, people want a party build. People really do. They want to say, you know, how do we build our local county? And also, just so y'all know, like the information we're collecting, I mean, to give you an idea of how closely we want to work with people, I've emailed Zach and said, I cannot wait to share all of this with you when I get back. Because in some places they're asking for more resources too. We're saying things like, hey, I'm retiring in September. From September onward, if you open an office, I can volunteer every single day. Right? In different things, in different aspects. So we're going to be sharing this information. We'll share it with Cindy, we'll share it with Kim, we'll share it with anyone who wants about the issues that rural Nevadans are facing, about where they want to get involved, what their recommendations are, and how to engage and how to organize. I'll tell you the other thing that we heard a lot of in the rurals in particular, but really everywhere, is answering the question and really working toward engaging more young people. Right? And we heard that everywhere. You know, we'd have these meetings and it was older Democrats who were coming together and said, you know, I moved here 25 years ago and I was the only Democrat, and then I ran into this woman at my voting location and we started talking, and you know, one thing led to another, and here we are, and we have got a team of 5 now. And they said, well, you know, maybe
Or a lot of people.
yeah, maybe it was a team of 12. Let's go with 12. Yeah. And they said, I know, I'm sorry, no. And it was Bob and Gay, and you know these guys, and with Nyland, and they said, but you know, look around. You know, we need more young people. We need to really engage more young people. So we're going to be looking into that too, and I think social media is a really good way to do that. I mean, they also said everywhere we went, we were like, well, you know, Hillary gave this economic speech last week. They're like, did she? We're like, okay, and they're like, well, did you post it on Facebook? And so we heard a lot of share it on social media, you know, share it on Facebook, start a group, or, you know, if you send it to me, I can post it, etc. So people are pretty excited and pretty pumped up, and they want to learn more about the caucus, for example, and they want to start getting organized. So, you know, we're going to do anything we can to do that, and I could not have asked for a better trip this far. Ask me again on Saturday night.